You think you understand the speed of light. It's just a number. About 300 million meters per second. Fast. Really fast. The fastest thing we know. Fine. But why is it the limit? Why can't you go faster? What physically stops this? Most people never ask that. They just repeat a phrase, cosmic speed limit. Nothing can go faster than light. That's just how the universe works. But that's not an answer. Because when you really ask why nothing can go faster than light, when you dig into what's actually stopping you, you don't just learn a fact about light. You find something that forces you to rebuild what you think space and time even are. The speed of light isn't just the fastest thing. It's not just a speed. It's the structure of reality. Let me show you. Start with something simple, a flashlight. You're standing still, you turn on a flashlight, a beam shoots out into the dark, and you measure the speed of that beam. That maximum speed, okay? Now here's the part your brain assumes without checking. If you start moving, the light should be faster, because that's how speed works. Throw a ball while standing still, it goes one speed. Throw the same ball from a moving car, it goes faster. Speeds add, that's normal. So you'd expect the same thing with light. If you're moving forward and you shine light forward, you'd expect it to go light speed plus your speed. Common sense. Now push it into the extreme. Imagine you're on a train moving at half the speed of light. You shine the flashlight forward. What speed should the beam have? Common sense says it should be faster than the beam you measured while standing still, because you're already moving. But when you measure it, it's still the same speed, no bonus speed. So you say, okay, maybe I measured wrong, so you go faster. The train is now moving at 90% of the speed of light. You shine the flashlight again, same result, the same speed. You go faster, 99%, same, 99.9%, same. 99.9999%, still the same. No matter how fast you chase the beam, you never make it pull away faster than that maximum speed. Light never behaves like a thrown ball. It refuses. It stays the same, always. And that should break your brain. Because if light doesn't change speed when you move, then the thing you use to define speed has to change. Speed is distance over time. So if the speed stays fixed, and observers disagree about motion, then distance and time can't both stay fixed. There are only two options. Either reality is lying to you, or space and time are not what you think. And here's the real truth. Space and time are the things that bend, not the light. Pause. This isn't an advanced question. It's a child's question. If I'm moving, shouldn't the light be faster? One crack in common sense, and fixing that crack forces the universe to do something so strange that people can repeat the words and still miss the reality behind them. So we're going to build this carefully, step by step, no jumps. This is a discovery ladder. Every rung has to earn the next first rung. If everyone measures the same speed for light, no matter how fast they're moving, then something must adjust so the measurement comes out the same. And there are only two things inside speed: distance and time. If the speed is fixed, then different observers must measure distance and time differently. That sounds impossible, because in everyday life, time is just time, a second is a second, a meter is a meter. Motion changes where you are. It doesn't change what a second means. That's what your intuition expects. It expects the world to be a stage. Fixed rulers, fixed clocks. But light exposes the truth. The stage is flexible. The rules of measurement change with motion, not because of error, not because your instruments are broken, because reality is built this way. Imagine you and I pass each other in space. No gravity problems, no air, no friction, just two ships drifting. We're moving fast relative to each other. I shine a flashlight toward you, you shine a flashlight toward me. We both measure our beams. We both get the same speed. You say, my light is moving away from me at that maximum speed. I say, my light is moving away from me at that maximum speed. And we both say, your light is also moving away from me at that same speed. That should be impossible, because from my point of view, you are moving. So your flashlight is moving. So your light should be different. But it isn't. So the only way both of us can be right is if the rulers and clocks we use to measure reality do not agree. And that is the first uncomfortable truth. Different motion gives you different measurements of space and time, not opinions, measurements. Now we climb the next rung. Once you accept that, measurement itself changes with motion. Time becomes the first thing to crack. Time is not universal. It's personal. That doesn't mean time is fake. It means your clock is not the same kind of object as someone else's clock if you're moving differently. The universe does not give you one master clock. It gives you local clocks. And the faster you move, the more your time stretches. Your seconds get longer, your clock runs slow. Physically, measurably. But wait, if time changes, then now changes too. This is the rung most people skip. They're willing to hear that clocks slow down. They're willing to hear that lengths shrink. But they still secretly believe one thing must remain solid. They believe there is one shared present, one universal right now. And that is where reality snaps, because there is no universal now. Same time is not objective. It depends on motion. This is the universe telling you something non-negotiable. So let me show you with a scene your brain can hold. A train, a long train, and two flashes of lightning, two bolts of lightning strike. One hits the front of the train, one hits the back at the same time. How do we know? Because an observer on the ground stands exactly in the middle, halfway between the strike points. The light from the front flash and the back flash reaches them together. Same distance, same travel time. So the ground observer says, those strikes happened at the same time. Now put an observer inside the moving train, also in the middle of the train car. They see the flashes too. But while the light is traveling, the train is moving. So the observer inside the train is moving toward the front flash and moving away from the back flash, which means the front flash has less distance to travel to catch them. The back flash has more distance to travel. So the train observer receives the front flash first, then the back flash second. Now the trap closes. If light speed is the same in all directions, then the train observer can't explain the different arrival times by saying one flash traveled faster. So the only consistent conclusion is this: the strikes were not simultaneous. The front strike happened earlier, the back strike happened later. Two observers, same reality. Different now, that's the snap. Different motion means different slicing of time. And that is the first time you see what the speed of light really is, a rule about how time is allowed to work. Now we can finally say what the speed of light is doing. The speed of light acts like a conversion factor between space and time, like an exchange rate. You can have more motion through space, but then you get less motion through time, and you don't get to choose. It's enforced. The faster you move, the more the universe shifts the accounting. It stretches your time. It compresses distance along your direction of motion. It reshapes what you call simultaneous, all to protect one thing, that maximum speed, because the universe cares more about keeping that constant than keeping your intuition comfortable. And right here, there's a way to see time dilation with your eyes. A clock made of light. Picture a box with two mirrors, one on the floor, one on the ceiling. A pulse of light bounces between them. Up, down, up, down. Every bounce is a tick. If the box is sitting still next to you, the light travels straight up and down, Now, put that light clock on a fast-moving train. From inside the train, nothing changes. The light still goes up and down, tick, tick, tick. But from your point of view outside, the light traces a diagonal path, a zigzag, more distance per tick. And here's the rule that makes everything unavoidable. Light still moves at the same speed. So if the distance per tick is longer, the time per tick must be longer too, meaning the moving clock ticks slower, not because it's faulty, because geometry forced it. That's time dilation. Built out of one stubborn fact: light speed doesn't change. Now anchor it with a few numbers. At everyday speeds, you don't notice any of this. It's tiny. But crank it up. At 90% of the speed of light, a moving clock ticks a bit more than twice as slowly. At 99%, it's about 7 times slower. At 99.9%, it's about 22 times slower. That is not subtle. That's reality stretching time like rubber. And it has to, because if it didn't, speeds would add, and they don't. Now, notice what this does to a life. Not in an emotional way, in a mechanical way. If you could travel at those speeds, you could cross the galaxy and come back to find that far more time passed for everyone else than for you. Your clock would have taken a shorter path through time. You would still feel normal inside your own frame. Your heart would beat normally. Your thoughts would feel normal. But the outside universe would race ahead. That's what it means for time to be personal. And once time gives way, distances must adjust too, because speed is distance divided by time. If time stretches for a moving observer, then the distance along the direction of motion compresses in a matching way for measurements to stay consistent. That's length contraction. But don't imagine a spaceship physically crushing. This isn't stress. It's structure. Different observers disagree about which points are at the same time. So they disagree about which endpoints count as the length right now. If you try to measure a moving object's length, you have to mark both ends at the same time. But the train observer and the ground observer do not agree on what same time means. So they don't agree on the length. Not because someone cheated, because simultaneity broke. Once that breaks, space and time are welded. So changing one changes the other, always in the exact amount needed to keep light speed constant. So far, you've seen the universe bend time, compress space, and rewrite now, but we still haven't answered your original question: why is it a limit? Why can't we just keep accelerating until we cross it? And this is not philosophy. This shows up the moment you try. Because as you get closer and closer to the speed of light, your speed becomes harder and harder to change. Not because your engine is weak, because the object itself resists acceleration more and more. Here's the intuition. It's like chasing a horizon. You can get close, the gap shrinks, but it never fully closes. Because the closer you get, the rules fight you harder. Now add the energy story. At low speeds, energy turns into speed. You add energy, you accelerate. But as you get extremely fast, energy stops turning into speed in the way you expect. The energy still goes somewhere. It goes into momentum. It goes into the total energy of the object. It makes collisions more violent. It makes the object harder and harder to steer, but the speed refuses to rise much. So the limit isn't a wall you hit, it's a boundary you approach forever. To reach it exactly, you would need endless energy. And endless is not a big number. It's a wall, a place the universe refuses to let mass cross. But wait, does that mean light is special, like the universe put a crown on it? No, light is not special. The speed is special, because it's not a light rule, it's a reality rule. It's the maximum speed at which cause and effect can propagate. Light just travels at that speed because it has no mass. Massless things don't get to travel slower. They always move at the maximum. So it looks like light sets the rule, but it's the other way around. Space-time sets the rule, light follows it. So now we can ask the real question, why does reality need a maximum speed for cause and effect at all? Why isn't influence instantaneous? Once time and now are flexible, faster than light stops being a speed problem and becomes a time problem. Because faster than light doesn't just mean faster travel. It means effects could arrive before causes. It means before and after could flip. And if before and after stop being consistent, causality collapses. Physics stops being a system. Reality becomes contradictory. Here's what that contradiction looks like. Imagine two ships passing each other at high speed. You and I again. You carry a device that can send a message faster than light. A magic transmitter. You press a button. You send a pulse to my ship. In your frame, it's simple. You send, I receive. End of story. But in my frame, time is sliced differently. Your now is not my now. So the act of receiving that message can slide into my past, meaning I could receive your message before you sent it, according to my clocks. And once that can happen, I can respond immediately with my own faster-than-light reply. And your reply can arrive back to you before you press the first button. You would see your own answer appear before you ask the question. That is what faster-than-light really buys you. Not just speed, time loops, effects without causes, reality talking to itself out of order. And the universe does not permit that. So it enforces a boundary, a maximum causal speed, a speed that keeps the order of cause and effect stable. Here's a way to see the structure without diagrams. From where you are right now, there is a region of the future you can reach. Events you can influence. Signals you can send that arrive in time to matter. That's your reachable future. But there is also a region you cannot reach, no matter how much energy you burn. Not because you're weak, because the universe does not allow connections that fast. The boundary between those regions is traced out by the fastest possible messenger, light. So the speed of light is not just a speed, it's a boundary line in reality. It carves space-time into what can be connected and what cannot. Now we can state the core reframe. The speed of light is not a speed limit placed on the universe. It's the shape of the universe. It's the geometry of space-time. It's the maximum update speed of reality. And you can't go faster, because faster would mean breaking the logic that makes time meaningful. Cause would come after effect. The universe would contradict itself. So it doesn't allow it mechanically. Now, there's a temptation here to hear all this and think the universe is being arbitrary. Like there's some rule written on the outside of reality that says nothing goes faster, end of story. But that's the wrong mental model. The speed of light isn't a posted speed limit. It's a definition of what it means for an event to influence another event. It's the shape of the connection itself. And this is why the limit shows up everywhere, even in places that don't feel like light. Gravity cannot update faster than that boundary. Electromagnetic effects cannot update faster than that boundary. If you shove a charged object, the influence doesn't appear instantly everywhere. It spreads at that maximum speed. Even the idea of a rigid object has to obey it. A metal rod cannot transmit a push instantly from one end to the other. The disturbance travels through the material, and the fastest possible version of that chain still cannot outrun the causal boundary. So when you hear nothing can go faster than light, don't translate it as photons win the race. Translate it as the universe will not allow influence without a consistent order. And once you have that translation, you can see why the earlier pieces were inevitable. Constant light speed is not a curiosity, it's a constraint that forces time to stretch, a constraint that forces now to split, a constraint that forces space to compress, a constraint that turns acceleration into an asymptote. And the payoff is this: reality remains coherent, no effects without causes, no answers arriving before questions, no universe that argues with itself. But you shouldn't believe this because it sounds elegant. You should believe it because reality keeps proving it in different places, with different tools. So here are the proofs. First, particle accelerators. We push particles to absurd speeds, closer and closer to the speed of light. And what we see is simple. The energy keeps rising, but the speed barely budges. The magnets have to work harder to bend the particle. The collisions get more violent. The smash-ups get more energetic. But the speed refuses to cross the boundary. The closer you get, the harder the universe resists. And here's the detail that makes this proof feel physical. A particle accelerator is not a straight cannon. It's a racetrack. The particle goes around and around, thousands of laps, millions of laps. And every lap, you hit it with another push, a tiny kick of energy, then another, then another. If speed worked the way your intuition wants, those pushes would quickly add up to pass the limit. You would overshoot it the way a car overshoots a speed sign. But that never happens. Instead, you watch the particle approach the boundary and stall there. Not in the sense of stopping, but in the sense of refusing to move much faster. Its speed creeps, its energy explodes, and you can see that explosion in the hardware. To keep the particle in a circle, you need magnetic fields to bend its path. Bending fast things is hard. So as the energy rises, the bending becomes harder. You have to push the magnets harder and harder just to keep the same curve. And the strangest part is that the particle can look almost unchanged in speed, yet require dramatically stronger steering. That's the universe showing you where the energy is going. Not into more speed, into more inertia, into more resistance to being redirected. It is as if the particle becomes heavier without gaining weight. Not because it collected matter, but because space-time is refusing to let the velocity cross the boundary. So the accelerator becomes a direct conversation with the geometry of reality. Go faster. Reality answers, pay more. Go faster. Reality answers, pay more. And the price rises without limit. Second, there's an experiment you can do with light itself. Send light down two paths at right angles. One path aligned with your motion, one path across it. If motion through space behaved like ordinary motion, one path should show a different speed than the other. One direction should behave differently. But it doesn't. No matter the orientation, the measured light speed is the same. No matter the season, no matter the direction, same result. Reality refuses to give you a preferred frame, light speed stays locked. And once you accept that, the bending of time is not optional, it is required. Third, the global positioning system. It works by timing light speed signals from satellites. And the timing is so sensitive that billionths of a second matter. But the satellite clocks do not tick at the same rate as clocks on the ground. So the system must constantly correct time, because if it doesn't, navigation drifts on the order of 10 kilometers per day. A system that depends on light speed timing can't work unless time itself is being corrected, and it is. Fourth, muons from the sky. These particles should decay before reaching the ground. Their lifetime is only a few millionths of a second, yet they reach the ground anyway, because at extreme speed, time stretches for them and the journey becomes possible. Nature runs the experiment for free. Fifth, flying clocks. Synchronize two clocks. Keep one on the ground. Fly the other around. Bring it back. They disagree. Not by opinion, by measurement. Time is local. Motion matters. Now bring it all together. Why is the speed of light the limit? Because it is the maximum speed at which cause and effect can propagate through space-time. That's the center. Everything else is the ladder that leads to it. Flashlight, constant light speed, time bends, now breaks, clocks slow, distances compress, acceleration resists, causality draws a boundary. Proof after proof confirms it. And there's one final intuition. In everyday life, you imagine space and time as separate. Space is where things are. Time is when things happen. But space-time doesn't work that way. You are always moving through space-time. Always. Even sitting still. The only question is how your motion is divided. More motion through space means less motion through time. So at the extreme, if you could move through space at the speed of light, you would have no motion left for time. That's why light doesn't age. And that's why you can't go faster. Because faster would mean negative time, a contradiction. So here's the whole story in one final breath. The speed of light is not about light. It is about the universe staying consistent. It is the maximum update speed of cause and effect. It is the edge of what can influence what. And the moment you accept that, you stop seeing the limit as a wall. You start seeing it as architecture. So if you want the clean ladder in your head, keep it like this. Light refuses to add with your speed. So space and time can't be absolute. So different motion means different clocks. So different clocks mean different now. So different now forces length to depend on motion. So acceleration stops behaving normally near the boundary. So faster than light becomes a causality problem, not a travel problem. And the speed of light stops being a fact about a beam. It becomes the rule that keeps the universe from contradicting itself. That's why the limit is there. And that's why you can't cheat it. And once you see that, the next question is, why does space-time have this geometry at all? So next time you hear that number, don't hear it as trivia, hear it as a key, because it tells you something fundamental. Space and time are welded, flexible, geometric. And that limit isn't sitting on top of physics. It's underneath physics. Not comfort, structure. And the speed of light isn't about light. It's about the universe refusing to let time contradict itself. Not comfort, truth.